August 18th, 1981. The Mediterranean Sea, off the Libyan coast. Two Libyan MiG-25s roar low across the Gulf of Sidra, afterburners blazing. On their radar, dozens of American fighters pouring off the deck of the USS Nimitz. The air feels electric, like a spark waiting to set off a firestorm. Inside the cockpit, a Libyan pilot braces for battle until something catches his eye. Off his wingtip, an American F-14 Tomcat. The American pilot casually raises his hand in a mocking wave. From the back seat, the radar intercept officer lifts a camera and snaps a picture. For a moment, the Libyan can only stare in disbelief, outnumbered, outclassed. And he knows the second Tomcat is already behind him, weapons armed. One spark in these skies could turn the Mediterranean into a battlefield. By the late 1970s, Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi had drawn a bold red line across the Mediterranean. He declared the entire Gulf of Sidra as Libyan waters, dubbing it the Line of Death. Any foreign warship or aircraft crossing it, he warned, would be attacked. Washington refused to recognize the claim. For the United States, international law was clear. The Gulf was open sea. To challenge Gaddafi's assertion, the Navy launched a freedom of navigation exercise in the summer of 1981. At its heart was the USS Nimitz, a floating airbase carrying dozens of F-14 Tomcat symbols of American power and reach. On August 18th, the first day of the standoff, the skies above Sidra turned into a high-stakes game of cat and mouse. Libyan fighters scrambled again and again MiG-25s, Su-22s, and Mirages. Yet each time they were met head-on by Tomcats sweeping in pairs. 70 Libyan aircraft surged into the air that day. Not a single shot was fired. The encounters bordered on surreal. American crews reported Libyan pilots edging in close, only to peel away under pressure. One Tomcat pilot even recalled waving at his opponent, while his radar intercept officer casually snapped a photo. The Libyans could only watch, outmatched and outnumbered. Commander Henry Kleeman later summed it up with a chuckle. It was all fun and games. But beneath the bravado, everyone knew one stray missile could ignite a war. And by dawn the following day, fun and games would give way to deadly seriousness. At dawn on August 19th, the mood had shifted. What had been fun and games the day before now carried the weight of real danger. Fast Eagle 102, Commander Henry Kleeman with RIO David Venlet, and Fast Eagle 107, Lieutenant Lawrence Music Muczynski with RIO James Anderson, patrolled the contested waters. On their scopes appeared two contacts closing fast. As they moved to intercept, the shapes became clear. Two Libyan Su-22 fitters, flying tight wingtip to wingtip, cutting directly across their path. Kleeman in 102 took point, while Muczynski spread his Tomcat wide, covering the flank. Then trouble. The radar aboard 107 suddenly failed, leaving Muczynski blind. He would have to rely on eyes alone, an unnerving handicap in a sky where seconds decide survival. Still, both Americans pressed forward. Kleeman's calm voice crackled over the radio. Visual. Two fitters ahead. But before the intercept could settle into routine, the situation snapped into chaos. A flash erupted beneath the lead Libyan jet. Smoke trailed into the sky. An AA-2 Atoll missile had just been fired, streaking straight toward Fast Eagle 102. Kleeman yanked his Tomcat hard left. The missile screamed past his canopy and vanished into the sea. Over the radio, Muczynski's stunned report cut through. Two fitters have shot at my leader. The Cold War's cat and mouse had just turned into a knife fight. The first missile had missed, but the fight had only just begun. Commander Kleeman in Fast Eagle 102 rolled back hard, his Tomcat cutting through the sky. He steadied his aim, thumb resting on the trigger of an AIM-9L Sidewinder. But the Libyan fitter made a fatal mistake turning toward the rising sun. Kleeman instantly realized the danger. His missile's seeker could be fooled by the glare. He waited. 10 excruciating seconds ticked by. Then the Su-22 banked away. That was enough. Kleeman fired. The Sidewinder streaked off his rail, locked true, and smashed into the Libyan's tailpipe. Fire erupted, metal shredded, and the pilot ejected into the haze. One down. Meanwhile, Muczynski and Fast Eagle 107 had swung his Tomcat through a brutal 180, closing fast on the second Su-22. The chase was on. His first missile failed dead trigger, warning lights flashing, heart racing. He flipped switches, ready to switch to guns if necessary, but when he fired his second Sidewinder, the missile roared free, cut across the sky, and detonated against the Libyan jet's fuselage. Shrapnel exploded outward. Muczynski yanked back on the stick, his body crushed by 10 Gs as he skimmed past a cloud of fire and debris. In seconds, silence returned. 2 kills, 2 Tomcats untouched. The duel was over. The radio crackled over the roar of the engines. Count on 2. Count 7. You are clear to defend yourself. By then, the fight was already finished. 2 Libyan Su-22 fitters lay burning in the sea below. Both enemy pilots, Captain Belkacem Al-Zintani and Lieutenant Mokhtar Al-Jafari, had ejected and were later rescued, shaken but alive. For the Americans, it was a clean victory. No losses, no casualties. For the F-14 Tomcat, it was history in the making. This duel marked its first real kill in combat. The AIM-9L Sidewinder had proven its precision, but more than that, the encounter showed the nerves and split-second decision-making of U.S. Navy aviators. And yet, despite the adrenaline and destruction, the clash never spiraled into wider war. The U.S. made its point, freedom of navigation, backed by overwhelming air power without escalation. It was a Cold War message, written not in speeches, but in contrails and smoke. Back aboard the Nimitz, Kleeman and Muczynski were welcomed as heroes. No medals were awarded, no politics changed, but the encounter became legend. Years later, Hollywood would borrow its energy for Top Gun, and the very jet that fired the first missile, Fast Eagle 102, still stands today in a Texas museum, a symbol of restraint, precision, and the razor's edge of Cold War air combat. Out there, above the Gulf of Sidra, 2 missiles and a few heartbeats had decided the course of history. The duel did not start a war, but it did leave a mark. Hollywood would soon come calling. The tension, the banter, the split-second kills, they became the DNA of Top Gun 1986. A film that turned the F-14 Tomcat into a cultural icon and etched naval aviators into legend. And the jet itself, Fast Eagle 102, lives on, restored by veterans. Its gray fuselage now rests in the Midland Army Airfield Museum in Texas. Visitors walk past its wings. Children press their hands against its steel, never knowing how close it once came to tipping the world into chaos. Because in that morning sky, the difference between restraint and disaster was measured in seconds, in discipline, in the calm of men who refused to let fear take the stick.
A stray missile can start a war, but skill, control, and the will to hold the line dazzle. That's what keeps the world from falling into chaos.
As one veteran later reflected, a single stray missile could have lit the fuse of war, but skill, control, and the will to hold the line kept the world steady on the edge. That was the legacy of August 1981. Not just victory, but proof that courage and restraint can shape peace as much as firepower.